unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
This week in gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello again, I'm Naomi Kyle, and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on an unexpected crossover for Helldivers 2. We take a closer look at gamer spending habits, and Nintendo files a new hardware patent. We've got all of this week's gaming news. Let's get started. Helldivers 2 is just 1 week away from inviting recruits from Xbox Series X and S consoles to join the ranks. To celebrate the forthcoming arrival, Helldivers 2 developer Arrowhead premiered a new trailer featuring all that Helldivers 2 has to offer. But at the very end of the trailer, Arrowhead spliced in a small snippet revealing a Helljumper drop pod landing in the central square of New Mombasa. All references to the cult classic Halo 3 ODST. Yup, it's so cool to see sharing across platforms result in a crossover that goes so well together. It gets me to thinking, now that the door is open, what crossovers could we see next? Banjo-Kazooie crossed with Ratchet & Clank, Forza mixed with Twisted Metal, Hellblade teaming up with Horizon. The possibilities are endless. A report by data analysts Newzoo and Tebex have revealed fascinating information regarding the spending habits of North American and European gamers. It turns out that despite accounting for just 20% of the gamers around the world, North Americans and Europeans are responsible for nearly half of the market's total spending. The average European gamer spends around $170 Canadian per year, while North Americans more than double that amount, spending nearly $450 per year on video games. But what I find most puzzling is that most of that money isn't spent on buying new games per se. It is spent on purchasing DLC, subscriptions, and microtransactions instead. Speaking of microtransactions, the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network is working with European governments to crack down on games that use predatory monetization tactics to squeeze its users to spend. Fortunately, the European Parliament has taken notice and called upon nations within the European Union to work together and protect players from corporate greed. Some European countries, like the Netherlands, are ahead of the curve, completely banning games that have loot box mechanics. In the US is where things get a little tricky, as there is currently no federal legislation in place to curb the sale of microtransactions. Despite all of this, a recent lawsuit was filed against major video game companies by a family in Los Angeles, California, alleging that games with microtransactions are by design addictive and exploit minors' lack of judgment. Developers at Pearl Abyss have made the difficult decision to delay their latest game, Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert was originally planned as a prequel to the MMORPG Black Desert Online. Then sometime during its development, it was reshaped to an original IP. Pearl Abyss says the delay is due to longer than expected timelines arising from collaborations with multiple partners from offline distribution, voiceovers, and console certification. Crimson Desert was scheduled to release in Q4 2025 and is now expected to launch in Q1 of next year. Sharp-eyed Nintendo fans have spotted a new patent filed by Nintendo for a detachable second screen. The patent depicts a screen that attaches to the top of what looks like a Nintendo Switch. The use case for this device is pretty clearly designed to emulate Nintendo DS games, which we could see join the ranks of other emulators featured on Nintendo Switch Online. While patents don't always turn into real products, this one definitely sparks the imagination. If Nintendo follows through, it could open the door to a whole new wave of DS nostalgia for Switch players. But whether this ends up being just a concept or the start of something bigger, it's another reminder that Nintendo is always looking for creative ways to innovate.
Quest complete.
So that's the news for this week. It's now time to chat with our guest. Maude Garrett joins us to chat about the epic Helldivers and Halo 3 ODST crossover, gamers' spending habits, microtransactions, and a second screen for the Switch 2.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
All right, Maude, you are back on This Week in Gaming. It's good to have you back after so long.
Yay, it's great to be back. There's so much happening. Let's get into it.
There's so much happening. First of all, I watched it. I think you watched it too. From what I heard. The trailer, Helldivers 2.
Hell yeah.
Halo, which is the perfect crossover if you ask me. It's the same. It's appealing to the same audience, you know?
I agree. There was something, I didn't know I needed it because I'd played a little bit of Helldivers, but having it not be on sort of like an alien bug planet and going through sort of like dilapidated buildings and bringing it to more civilization, I was like, ooh, that's fun.
Very, very familiar.
It's nice.
Yeah. So they're bringing it to Halo 3 ODST crossover. I can't believe it's happening. I'm so excited too because this is obviously to hype up and get people to play now that Helldivers 2 is officially on the Xbox. What about that song choice, the POD Boom?
I feel like we're
throwback?
at E3 again. Yeah. This is like peak gaming E3 days. That release where you're like, no way. And then they're like, everyone look under your seat. You get a new Xbox 360. Oh my gosh. That was a good time. I like that games are taking risks. And I always say that when games play fair, like as in stop being so competitive and gatekeeping, when they start sort of like exploring and sharing and opening doors, we, the gamers, get the best. We get the best part of everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it sounds like they're listening to who plays Helldivers 2, and it is a lot of people who love Halo and those types of games. And so that, you know, for me just says, okay, they really know what they're doing with this franchise, and they're hoping that this will be for the long run, you know, that it's not just going to exist and then fizzle out. They're keeping it alive, which I really like what they're doing. It's
also going to be for democracy.
That's right.
Hey, you want to play? Should we squad up?
I was going to say, if you want to get back on it, I'm totally down. I don't know how this crossover will work. Like, do we get to play this crossover? I guess we have to have the Xbox version to play this, right?
Oh,
I'd be shocked to see Halo on PlayStation. Yeah. I'll do it. I'll buy the game again. I don't mind. So let's hop back in. Have you played recently?
Not recently. I had it on PC, and my friend introduced it to me the day after my birthday, and I was so violently hungover that it wasn't really processing. And it's just like kind of put a bad taste in my mouth because it was the worst time to experience Helldivers. But it was the same guy, funnily enough, that Helldivers is sort of like has Easter eggs from a book series called Red Rising.
Yeah.
And Red Rising actually have Helldivers with the Reds that are miners. And there's a lot of Red Rising references in the game. And it was Pierce Brown, the author of Red Rising, that introduced me to Helldivers.
Oh my God. I had no idea about this.
Isn't that fun?
This is I'm so glad that you mentioned that on the show, because I'm assuming some players don't know about that reference and that there's those Easter eggs in there. Speaking of really cool mixing of IP and stuff like that, are there any crossovers you'd love to see in Helldivers 2 now that they've done their first one?
What I really like about this partnership is that it's kind of bringing back old LAN days. Like Halo was so good sort of like between 2005, 2010, when was I still playing it? 2014, where you would get your friends over and you'd squad up and like local co-op, which I miss so much. But so I'm actually going back through like all the previous LAN games, and I'm like, how do we do like a Doom Duke Nukem crossover? How do we do a Counter-Strike meets, oh my God, was it Fortress? What are the other LAN games around that time? Heretic?
Team Fortress. Heretic.
Heretic. Give me some Heretic in there as well. Like, how fun.
That would be so fun. All right, cool. We're going to cut to games out this week, and we'll be right back with more This Week in Gaming.
Games out this week.
Starting on August 19th, Sword of the Sea surfs onto the PS5 and PC. On August 20th, Core.sys releases on PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Then on August 21st, Blast Rush SL releases exclusively on PC, Discounty and Hurdling Stampede on the PS5, PC, Switch, and Xbox Series X and S. Alethea, The Wrath of a Fairy launches on PS4, PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. And on August 25th, Vlad Circus Curse of Asmodeus releases on all platforms. The Epic Games Store is offering 2 free games this week. Strange Horticulture, and Kameru, a frog refuge, will be available for download from August 21st until the 28th.
West. Accepted.
All right, we're back. So super stoked. I could talk forever about Helldivers 2, but we're going to have to move on to another story. I want to talk about this study that talks about how Europeans and the US, Americans, spend on average per year more than 50% of the rest of the world, even though they only make up 20% of the gamer demographic, which is crazy. So they spend quite a bit per year based on, if you talk about like the Europeans spend 170 Canadian, I don't know if that is US, you guys will have to do the conversion, but then 450 is the American dollar spend. It's double what the Europeans pay. And so Americans top the list. I want to know how much you spend per year.
Oh, shush, Naomi. Why are you going to call me out like this? It's interesting because I remember, and this is to go way, way, way back about surprising spends with demographics. Back in 2010, I pitched to a magazine in Australia for teen and tween girls. And I was like, I want to get girls into gaming and I want to do a gaming column. And the editor was like, there's absolutely no way we're going to do that. Like, young girls don't play video games. And I'm like, okay. 3 days later, I get an email. I just went to a conference and found out that the demographic from like 11 to 17-year-old girls are spending at least over $70 a month on video games. When can you start? And I was like, cool. Yeah. Like, they were spending their pocket money and each month they were trying to buy a new game. I have the absolute delight of gaming on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. So it's like I'm spending money across all platforms. But gone are the days where it's like, I mean, maybe some people still do it. I don't anymore, where it's like when a new AAA title comes out, you drop your $60+ on that game. With the introduction of things like Game Pass, I'm spending a subscription amount and I'm kind of shopping within what I'm getting for that subscription, which has, I thought, brought costs down. But when you look at it, like $17 for 12 months, that's already sort of like 140. Don't make me do math on the spot, but like, you know, that's already what your Europeans are paying per year on video games.
Yeah. Yeah, and 240, I'd say, isn't it? Let's round it up to $20 a month.
$20 a month.
That would be 240, right?
Yeah.
Doing the math of 12 months. So that's like, that's a little bit more than what Europeans spend in Canadian dollars. So I guess if you were to convert it, it's roughly 130, 140 is my guess. US dollars. I guess I should have done this conversion before the interview, but
I'm telling you right now, that Game Pass subscription is not the only money I'm paying on video games.
Definitely not. And I'd say the majority of what they found in the study was that the US Americans spend not so much on games, but the DLCs, the microtransactions, those kind of add-ons. And so that's where all the money ends up going, which is interesting.
I have a real problem with microtransactions, and I think it's definitely evolving for the better. It used to be really big with pay to play. So you would pay money to be able to gain access to play the game better. So it would be like, if you pay money, you will beat your competitors who don't pay money.
Right.
And that is a form of gambling. That is seeking addicts and people with addictive sort of tendencies.
And very vulnerable people like children.
Exactly, to try and spend money because the game is designed to provide a block at a particular state where money and a transaction gets you over that hurdle instead of waiting for 60 minutes. You know, and a lot of apps fell into this, and it's so much so a friend of mine dropped $100,000 on microtransactions for Clash of Clans because they were in the number one spot and felt like they had to maintain that. But to get
within the year, how what the time frame? Oh wow, wow!
But, I mean, they didn't spend it within a year. That was a few years, and then they realized because it's only $1, $1 or $5 or $20 here and there. But like, if you were a game developer and you saw that one person had spent $100,000, for me, I wouldn't see that as a success. I would see that as an exploitation.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, they're there to make money.
Yeah, they depend on, I don't know if it's a derogatory term, but they call them whales. Like the people who spend the most amount of money on these games, they're the ones who spend the $100,000 a short amount of time. And they feed off of that, and they bank on those people existing.
And I think that's icky, personally.
Yeah, it's really icky.
I mean, it's just, it's obvious greed, and I have a problem with obvious greed. Now, what I'm noticing with my microtransactions currently, like where I'm sort of privy to it showing up in games, is battle passes. So it's like, we have a new season. Do you want the skin? And it's like, do you want to look different? That actually doesn't appeal to me at all.
But there are people it does appeal to, and they can make money off of that. So,
but it doesn't alter. Yeah, but it doesn't alter how they're playing the game. So it's not like you've paid for a battle pass, your damage is going to be 20% extra throughout the season. Like, that's a pay to play. So doing cosmetics only, I feel more comfortable with, but that's mainly because it doesn't drain my pocket, because I don't care.
Right. Yeah. And I am on the same, like, I'm in the same boat as you. If I think, if there's something that I really want in the game and it's like a cosmetic where I like it, I'm happy to spend that money. But if it's something that influences the game and how I move forward in the game and progress through the game, then I'm not spending on that, because ethically I think that's completely wrong. And yeah, there's a lawsuit happening right now from a family in Los Angeles suing about microtransactions. And the problem with the US, and this is like kind of tied into the discussion about how much US spends on gaming, is that they don't have regulation right now. They don't regulate microtransactions. There's been tons of lawsuits. There's been tons of like discussion at the higher end, trying to regulate it. But nothing's stopping these companies from doing this at this point.
Why was this family suing? Was one of their underage kids attached to the family credit card, and they just unwillingly? That's
right.
How much?
Yeah, they think their kid became addicted, and they think it's exploitative, and it's because of the game that this happened, that they got into a lot of debt.
Roblox?
I don't have that information. Oh my gosh, let me see if I can find it.
Roblox is in hot water at the moment,
especially right now.
Yeah, they are not protecting children.
They have been in hot water for a long time, to be honest. I think they've been dragging this on, hoping to not have to deal with it. But I think there's a tipping point where we just ran into the tipping point right now. Like, I think they have to face this, and it's no longer, it's fine. It's not as big a deal as it seems. But it has been a discussion for a long time, and I think they've just been
it's unethical and irresponsible what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, because I've just finished reading a book, sorry to bring it back to books yet again. I do run a book club.
No, I love it.
It's called The Anxious Generation, and it shows the impact of Generation Z, Gen Zs, having unfettered access to the internet. And what's happening is that companies do have a responsibility, especially providing anything with microtransactions and with an MMO sort of scope to under 16s, and instead they're prioritizing money. Greed. Oh, yeah. It's greed again. And
absolutely.
The damage that it's causing to this Gen Z and upcoming generation, whether it's, not protecting children from predators online, all of these sorts of things, not protecting children from spending online, not protecting children from bullying and like extreme hatred. Like, there's so much responsibility, and I feel like games are sidestepping a lot of it.
Oh, yeah. They're just trying to not look at it. They're not being, they're avoiding the problem. They're ignoring the problem.
But they're taking that money.
Yeah. And I just looked up the story actually about the lawsuit here, and they're specifically suing companies like Epic Games, Microsoft, and Roblox.
There it is. I called it.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's move on to a quick bit about the Switch 2 here. Nintendo had filed a patent. Some fans, spotted it, and it looks like they're adding potentially a Switch 2 dual screen. I don't know if they're going to add it. It's just been filed, so we'll see if it ever comes to light. But to me, it just is reminiscent of the dual screen on the DS.
I know. We've had so many iterations of dual screen from Nintendo handheld consoles over the years. And I know because I had all of them. The Nintendo DS, the Nintendo 3DS, the Nintendo DS XL, like you name it. And I liked that they were, taking initiative. The 3DS, I think, was quite ambitious, where you had like a 3D scale and a slider and it would kind of pop out, which I thought was like, it was like really,
very cool. I still have mine right here, actually, with Zelda.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah. But it's like, it was cool for a second, and then you realize that long play you'd get a headache, and it like wasn't absolutely necessary. It was like cool for a little bit. But I would be really interested to know of Switch users what percentage are only using it handheld, because if I'm playing a Zelda-esque game, I'm wanting it on my big screen. Like without fail, I want the detail. I want to, I'm spending hours. I want to lay horizontal. That's how I'm playing games. I used to bring it a lot for travel. Less and less am I doing that now. So I understand and recognize that pattern would be if majority of Switch users are using it as a handheld way.
Yeah, it would have its own hinge, and it would be like it looked the same size as the Switch 2 screen. So that's also interesting, because why would that mean, and I wonder if you can detach it and share the screen with someone else. Like, I don't know the function of it and what
like
they're aiming for.
Feature,
Yeah, I wonder if it's something like that. But it's interesting. It's TBD on if they ever, come out with it. But
look, good on Nintendo for always reinventing hardware.
Yeah. Always inventing stuff.
That's it. Like they're running their own race, and I really respect them for it.
Me too. Do you have any good memories playing on the DS? Any games?
Hell yeah. Spirit Tracks, Zelda game. Hourglass, Phantom Hourglass, Zelda game. Oh my God, my many hours playing Pokemon. Like every iteration was on a DS or started off on Game Boy. Like I feel like Pokemon is so intrinsic to the handheld Nintendo experience over decades. Like I'm a big fan of it. I left my Switch in Australia when I went back recently.
No.
Yeah, because I thought I was going back home for a lot longer. And I just was like, yeah, I'll get it in a few months. Idiot.
Oh, shucks.
I know. So it's like a real test to see how
would you have to get it shipped or something?
That's not a today problem. I'm not thinking about that right now. But I am playing a lot of PC games at the moment. Like that's the best thing about having 4 different ways to play video games. There's always another way. So I'm playing a lot of PC at the moment. Yep.
Love it. All right. Well, Maude, always a pleasure. Love having you on the show. I hope you'll come back for another one in the future. And thanks as always for taking the time to be on my show.
Yay.
I always love it.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Maude Garrett is the host and creator of Maude's Book Club. You can follow her on Instagram and TikTok at Maude's Book Club.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle. I had such a blast bringing you the news this week. Thank you so much for listening, and shout out to my co-writer, Josh Seaman. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a fun-filled week. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Talk to you later.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.